right there. Right there. Okay. Yeah, four right there. It's a small little.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, family, friends, and staff. Welcome to today's retirement ceremony. I'm Commander Erin Palmer, Coast Guard Liaison to the Department of War Sexual Assault Prevention and Response Office, also known as SAPRO. I'll be your Master of Ceremonies for this afternoon's event. Today we have the honor of recognizing the 30 years of dedicated service to our nation by Colonel Thomas Esser, U.S. Air Force, and Chief of Staff here at SAPRO. As a reminder, please place your cell phones in silent mode for the duration of the ceremony. Please follow my directions for when to stand and be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the national anthem and invocation. Colonel, U.S. Air Force, arriving. Director, Sexual Assault Prevention and Response Office, arriving. Attention to colors. Mr. Adon Pacheco will now deliver the invocation.
Most gracious and sovereign God, we gather today with grateful hearts to honor and celebrate Colonel Thomas Esser as he concludes 30 years of faithful service to our nation. We pause to give you thanks for the calling you placed upon his life, for the strength you provided through every challenge, and for your steadfast presence throughout his military career. Lord, thank you for Colonel Esser's unwavering commitment to duty, his integrity, his selfless service, and his leadership. Thank you for the countless airmen he has led, mentored, and inspired, and for the lasting impact of his service on the United States Air Force and our nation. We also give thanks for Jenny and the Esser family, whose love, sacrifice, steadfast support made this career possible. As Tom transitions from active service to a new season of life, grant him and Jenny renewed strength, abiding peace, good health, and the joy of time shared with family and friends. We ask your continued hand of protection over their family. Watch over TJ as he serves our nation as an Army Ranger. Grant him courage, wisdom, and discernment, and your divine protection wherever duty calls. Bless Toby and Bonnie with your guidance, favor, and peace. May each of them walk confidently in the purpose you have prepared for their lives, knowing your presence goes before them. And Father, as Colonel Esser passes the mantle to the next generation of leaders, continue to watch over the airmen, guardians serving our nation across the globe. May they continue to uphold the highest ideals of military service with integrity, humility, and honor. For it is through their faithful service that our nation remains the land of the free because of the brave. In your holy and sovereign name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Pacheco. Please be seated. Before we begin, we would like to recognize some very special guests today. Colonel Esser's wife, Jennifer Esser, their sons, U.S. Army Specialist Thomas Esser Jr. and Tobias, and their daughter, Bonnie. Colonel Esser's parents, who are joining us online, Wanda Esser and Paul Esser, U.S. Air Force veteran. Welcome to all and thank you for being here today. As we gather to honor Colonel Esser's military career, we look back at where it all began 30 years ago. Colonel Esser grew up in Louisiana and graduated from Louisiana State University in 1996.
Retires.
Following graduation, he was commissioned through the Reserve Officer Training Corps program. Over the course of his career, he's been assigned around the U.S. and the world. The Air Force has called upon him to serve in Colorado, Alaska, Alabama, Japan, and right here in the nation's capital. Along the way, he's deployed to Korea, Qatar, and twice to Afghanistan. When he was assigned to Eielson Air Force Base in Alaska, he met his now wife, Jennifer. TJ made the Essers a family of 3 when they were at Maxwell Air Force Base in Alabama. Toby and Bonnie both came along in Japan. Like many senior military officers, he finally found himself in one spot for more than a few years when he landed here in the National Capital Region. Here he served at the Pentagon, the Defense Intelligence Agency, and finally right here at the Mark Center. Since May of 2022, Colonel Esser has served as SAPRO's Chief of Staff. His military decorations include the Legion of Merit, the Defense Superior Service Medal, the Defense Meritorious Service Medal with Oak Leaf Cluster, and the Meritorious Service Medal with 6 Oak Leaf Clusters. Now it's my distinct honor to introduce the presiding official for today's ceremony, Dr. Nathan Galbraith. He's the Director of the Sexual Assault Prevention and Response Office. Dr. Galbraith is a member of the Senior Executive Service and leads enterprise-wide policy, programs, and oversight for the sexual assault prevention and response across the Department of War, serving a global force of over 2 million service members. Dr. Galbraith has served with SAPRO in some capacity since 2007, when he was assigned as the SAPRO's first military deputy director before he retired from the Air Force in 2009. He holds a PhD in clinical psychology from the Uniformed Services University of Health Sciences. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Nathan Galbraith.
Putting glasses on so that I can see. All right, good afternoon, everyone, family and friends, distinguished guests and teammates, and especially the Esser family. Thank you so much for being here today. Today is a good day. It's a day to celebrate 30 years of extraordinary service, remarkable leadership, and one man's persistent willingness to accept assignments that most people would politely decline and then pretend they never saw the email. Today we honor Colonel Tom Esser. Now, retirement ceremonies are interesting events. We gather together to spend 20 minutes or so, maybe longer, looking at your notes, talking about accomplishments as though they simply wandered from one historic event to another by accident. And when you look at Tom's career, it almost feels that way. Japan after a 9.0 earthquake, tsunami, and nuclear crisis, Tom was there. Kabul during the largest era of evacuation in modern history, Tom was there. Commanding airmen supporting intelligence missions around the globe, Tom was there. And helping implement some of the most significant reforms of the Department of War in recent history, Tom was there too. And at some point, you begin to wonder if senior leaders simply looked around the room during moments of crisis and said, "Where's Esser? Send Esser." And apparently, they did. Because throughout his career, when things became difficult, complicated, politically sensitive, operationally challenging, or outright chaotic, Tom got the call, and he answered it. Every single time. But I have to tell you, the resume only tells one part of the story. Because those of us that have worked with Tom know that beneath the impressive assignments, decorations, and command positions, there is someone who possesses a remarkably rare leadership quality. Tom makes difficult things seem manageable. He has an ability to walk into a room full of stressed people, competing priorities, impossible timelines, and questionable guidance from higher headquarters, and somehow convince everyone that we're going to be okay. Usually, while carrying a cup of coffee, or at least I think it was coffee. All right. And he even does it while smiling, and which is pretty suspicious behavior for a colonel. Tom has always struck me as someone who understands an important truth about leadership. You know, people don't remember every policy decision, they don't remember every staffing package, they don't remember every briefing, but they absolutely do remember how their leaders behaved when things became uncertain. They remember who stayed calm, they remember who listened, they remember who supported them, who rolled up their sleeves, and who shared the burden. And Tom has done that consistently throughout his career. In 2011, while commanding the 35th Force Support Squadron at Misawa Air Base, Japan, he faced circumstances that few commanders ever encountered. An earthquake, a tsunami, a nuclear disaster, thousands of people looking to their leaders for reassurance, families separated, airmen worried, information changing by the minute, and Tom led. More than 1,300 family members evacuated, over 14,000 residents and responders supported, a recovery effort that would eventually become a benchmark across PACAF. As a matter of fact, a former commander wrote us today to say a bit more about Tom's work from Japan. And this is from Air Force Major General retired Mike Roski. To Tom, Jennifer, and the entire Esser family, I thank you for 3 decades of service to our Air Force and to our nation. My Jen and I are sorry that we can't be with you today to mark the day. To those of you at the ceremony who don't know me, I had the privilege to serve with Tom at Misawa Air Base from 2010 to 2012, when he was the Force Support Squadron commander, and I was the wing commander. We had about 10,000 Americans total associated with the base, on top of the typical military personnel mission. Misawa's relative isolation in northern Japan made it especially important that Tom and his team helped build a sense of community for these Americans far from home. The services that he ran were the glue that held us all together, from the enlisted and the O clubs, to the dining facilities, to the fitness centers, to the golf course, the Mototeki Cafe, and the community center. Oh, and by the way, the Sledding Hill and Lodge need an honorable mention too. Tom and his team were terrific, and in my 35 years in uniform, I saw none better. But you can't talk about Tom's time at Misawa without reflecting on the great Tohoku earthquake and tsunami of March 11th, 2011. Between the earthquake and the tsunami, more than 22,000 people were either killed or still missing. Fortunately, while we had some injuries, we avoided the worst of it at Misawa. The event also damaged the Fukushima nuclear plant, which began to leak radiation and threatened to progress to a full-blown nuclear meltdown. The main earthquake was followed by over 1,000 aftershocks over the next several months. 5 of those were over 7.0 on the Richter scale by themselves, and the scientists, as this unfolded in real time, were uncertain whether the March 11 earthquake was the main event or just an appetizer to an even bigger quake. Each big aftershock threatened additional tsunamis, and the nuclear crisis had the entire country on edge. It would take too much time to capture all that Tom faced during this time, but let me throw out a few things to try to give you a taste. We had no power and no heat, with snow on the ground for over a week, and only got it back piecemeal over several weeks. Tom had to figure out how to help feed and shelter large parts of the community. We had American civilians living in the broader northern Japan area who became refugees on the base. We had to calm a diverse community struggling not to freak out while earthquakes were continuing every day and the threat of a nuclear meltdown gripped the country. We conducted a voluntary, non-combat emergency evacuation, sending over 1,300 family members back to the States while continuing to provide services for those who chose to remain. Throughout all of this, Tom was simply magnificent. When others were frenetic, Tom was calm. When others were not thinking things through, Tom was already 2 steps ahead. When others were tired and exhausted, Tom's energy was deeper. When people needed a steady, reassuring voice, Tom was there. When someone just needed to grab an oar and row, Tom started to pull. They say that adversity does not build character so much as it reveals it. It was under significant adversity that I saw Tom's leadership and character truly shine. Tom, I am truly proud to have served with you. I am so lucky to have had you on our team. As you may recall, mission, leadership, community were the 3 guideposts for the wing. You embodied them all. Jennifer, We are also super lucky to have you on the team. Your kindness, graciousness, and devotion to both your own and the broader military family was such a blessing for us, whether it was leading the pageants or just helping out with whatever was needed to bring us together. You made us a better community. Thank you. I wish you the very best in your family into the future, and if I can ever be helpful to you, just let me know. Signed, Mike Rossi. Now, let's fast forward 10 years, because apparently the once-in-a-generation crisis wasn't enough. Tom finds himself at Hamid Karzai International Airport during the withdrawal from Afghanistan. History is unfolding literally all around him. Enemy threats, thousands of desperate people seeking safety, uncertainty everywhere. And once again, Tom was where leadership mattered the most. Helping execute the largest air evacuation in our recent history, helping more than 123,000 people, dealing with the Taliban, coordinating multinational operations while working for a very grumpy Turkish general, and managing complexity at a scale few of us can truly appreciate. I understand, I've heard that Tom was one of the very last Americans out of the country, and even had a backup plan to fly home with the Turkish military if the Americans left him behind. However, he did manage to get out on an American aircraft, but little did he know that he was going to upset the airman in charge of munitions when he landed in Qatar.
Yes.
Indeed, this dutiful airman lectured the colonel because Tom had failed to turn in his weapon properly before departing Afghanistan. I understand that Colonel Esser had a hard time helping that airman understand that there was no one left in Afghanistan to take his gun. And he was pretty sure that the Taliban would not have given him a hand receipt for the weapon. Tom somehow survived all of this international intrigue with enough composure left to become my chief of staff at SAPRO, which may have actually been the hardest assignment. At SAPRO, Tom inherited another kind of challenge, not one measured by incoming rockets, but instead measured by policy deadlines, congressional interest, reform initiatives, staffing actions, budget drills, and the occasional senior executive's existential crisis. He helped oversee implementation of 83 independent review commission on sexual assault and military recommendations, supported the department-wide effort that exceeded $1 billion to do that very same, managed our own $81 million portfolio, and he even survived my dragging him through Germany, Romania, and Poland with all of my challenge coins intact, which Lisa Surratt and I quickly realized customs officials absolutely love to look for in his luggage at every stop. And I'm pretty sure Tom loved that too. We felt very badly about his getting jacked up all the time, so we took care never to laugh when he was looking.
There's a little PTSD for you.
All right. And somehow, despite all of this, Tom managed to keep our office functioning, moving forward and in pretty good spirits, despite the fact that our mission is to help people on one of their worst days in their lives. Which should not be underestimated, because good leaders drive results. Great leaders make difficult work sustainable, and Tom has always done both. Of course, none of this happens alone. No military career lasts 30 years because one individual simply works harder than everybody else. It lasts because the family decides over and over again that they're willing to serve too. Jennifer, I have to acknowledge that through my time knowing Tom, I have come to believe you possess superhuman capabilities.
Yes.
You are an accomplished opera singer. You are the founder and CEO of the Princess Performer. Your event planning apparently knows no second. It is world famous. You raised 3 children. You supported countless moves, deployments, late nights, missed holidays, unexpected phone calls, and somehow you continued smiling through all of it. Honestly, I think Tom's greatest professional achievement may have been convincing you to marry him in the first place. To TJ, currently serving as the Army Ranger, your father has set a remarkable example of service, character, and commitment. However, I kind of think that there are still spirited conversations in the Esser household about which branch of service might have been the best experience. To Toby, a business major at Alabama. Your father spent 30 years serving the nation while you wisely chose a degree that may someday allow you to explain to him his retirement accounts. That's also public service. And to Bonnie. Heading into your junior year, I hope you know that while your father spent 3 decades taking care of airmen around the world, one of the roles he is proudest of has always been being your dad. Tom, what strikes me most about your career isn't simply what you've accomplished, it's the trust that people placed in you. Organizations trusted you, commanders trusted you, airmen trusted you, families trusted you, because leadership is ultimately not about authority. It's about confidence. Confidence that when things become difficult, someone capable is in the room. For 30 years, you have been that person. And now, after 3 decades of service, it is finally time for somebody else to answer the phone. It's time someone else can take a crisis. Someone else can sit through the budget meetings. Someone else can explain why someone up the chain changed the suspense date 3 times in the last week. You have earned this moment. You have earned time with family. You have earned slower mornings, well, except when Jennifer needs something checked off the honey-do list. You have earned the opportunity to decide your next meeting is simply not to attend one. Tom, thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your friendship. And thank you for showing all of us what steady, thoughtful leadership looks like. On behalf of a grateful Department of War, a grateful Air Force, and the many people whose lives and careers you have touched over the years, congratulations. Well done, and welcome to retirement.
Dr. Galbraith will now formally recognize Colonel Esser for his achievements. Would the audience please rise? Uniform members, attention to award. Citation to accompany the award of the Legion of Merit to Thomas P. Esser. Colonel Thomas P. Esser distinguished himself by exceptionally meritorious conduct in the performance of outstanding service to the United States as the Chief of Staff, Department of War, Sexual Assault Prevention and Response Office from 20 May 2022 to 31 July 2026. In that capacity, Colonel Esser provided strategic leadership and management oversight of department policies supporting warfighters and advancing readiness. He oversaw SAPRO's $81 million budget, as well as implementation of 83 recommendations and execution of $1.1 billion for Secretary of War directed reforms. His operational experience was essential to an on-site review of sexual assault response for over 7,000 personnel supporting Operation Atlantic Resolve, leading to improved response support at 7 forward operating bases in Romania and Poland. His skill set ensured office continuity during COVID restrictions, followed by successful implementation of return to office guidance for 38 military and civilian personnel. His common sense approach with fellow agency chiefs of staff in the Defense Human Resources Activity, DHRA, was recognized for sustaining enterprise focus and resource employment. Colonel Esser led an extensive personnel and resource reorganization within DHRA, resulting in the formation of the Resilience and Training Directorate. The singularly distinctive accomplishments of Colonel Esser culminate a long and distinguished career in the service of his country and reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. We will now publish the retirement order.
We could
Pause for photo
pause for
first.
pictures.
Sorry, going back and forth between video.
Uniform members, attention orders. Special orders number Alpha Lima 00963. Effective 31 July 2026, you are relieved from active duty, Department of War Defense Human Resources Activity, Mark Center. Retired effective 01 August 2026 per Department of the Air Force Instruction 36 TAC 3203 and grade of Colonel. Please be seated. Dr. Galbraith will now present Colonel Esser with his retirement certificate and retirement pin. The certificate reads, "To all who shall see these presents, greetings. This is to certify that Colonel Thomas P. Esser, having served faithfully and honorably, was retired from the United States Air Force on the first day of August 2026. Signed, General Kenneth S. Wilsbach, United States Air Force Chief of Staff." The Presidential Certificate of Appreciation is presented to Colonel Esser. It reads, "I extend to you my personal thanks and the sincere appreciation of our grateful nation for your contribution of honorable service to our country. You have helped maintain the security of the nation during a critical time in its history with a devotion to duty and a spirit of sacrifice in keeping with the proud traditions of the military service. I trust that in the coming years you will maintain an active interest in the armed forces and the purpose for which you served. Those who follow in your footsteps will draw inspiration from your commitment, dedication, and sacrifices made to ensure the protection of our American freedoms. My best wishes to you for happiness and success in the future." Signed, Donald J. Trump, Commander-in-Chief. Dr. Galbraith will now present a certificate of appreciation to Jennifer Esser. The certificate reads, "In grateful appreciation, the United States Air Force presents this certificate of recognition to Jennifer D. Esser for the commitment and numerous contributions that made positive impacts to the nation's defense. Thank you for the support which gave strength and purpose to your spouse's service." We will now have Colonel Esser's son, TJ, present the American flag to his father. It is a tradition in the United States military to present an American flag to a service member on the occasion of their retirement. For more than 2 centuries, the Stars and Stripes have been the banner under which Americans have lived, fought, and died. On behalf of the President of the United States, the Department of the Air Force, and a grateful nation, please accept this flag in recognition of your honorable and faithful service. Ms. Andy Bryant, Managing Director of SAPRO, will now present Colonel Esser with a token of appreciation on behalf of the SAPRO staff.
So it's kind of sad when they buy their own farewell gift. But it has become a tradition that we give folks as they leave a picture of the Pentagon where we all sign around it. And Tom managed to have an extra one laying around and managed to donate it. The team has made good use of it and filled it up. So thank you very much. Try not to put my fingerprints all over that. And we also have a nice little crystal plaque that has your name, Colonel Tom Esser, Chief of Staff, SAPRO, the dates that you served. I know you kind of have to look for it from May of 22 to July of 26. Thank you very much for your service.
At this time, Colonel Esser would like to present a token of his appreciation to his wife and children. If you could join him up front.
You guys, I'll come to you. Let's see, where am I going? Yes. To my mother-in-law, coming all the way from Alaska.
You're gonna make me cry. I love this film. Thank you.
All right. My Bonnie B. I love you.
Lipstick off.
then, I forgot, it's in my pocket, my boys, I'm not gonna forget you guys. My Bama boy, Toby, my Ranger.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my distinct honor to introduce Thomas Esser, Colonel, U.S. Air Force, retired.
Ooh. This is strange. So I'm gonna try to get through this, and get you out of here by 4:30. I'm not kidding. All right. Well, the good thing is, a lot of this has been covered. So I'm gonna try really hard to stick to this. I don't know that I can, but I just wanted, for my family, my friends, coworkers, everybody here, just kind of take a second to talk a little bit about my journey and why it means so much to me, because of people, just like the people in this room. It's wow, it's heavy looking back over 30 years and thinking about all the people that meant so much. The mission, yeah, that's what we're here for, right? The mission, but it's the people that we really serve for anyway. So this is hard for me. It's hard to step away. From the start to the finish, I've had been blessed to be with such amazing people. And so I just, to keep my notes a little bit straight, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about that story. So, first of all, let me just thank Dr. G. Sir, thank you for everything. Thank you for hiring me. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you for making this day special for not just me, but my family. So, really appreciate it, sir. It means a lot to us. And then to my separate team, thank you for being here. Thank you for closing out my last job in such an amazing way and being around people that care about the mission. And I can't think of a more important one than taking care of our folks. And thank you for what you do every day. It means a lot. And that sentiment goes all the way to my DHRA family. What a team to work for, right? With every day. It started with Mr. Register when he was here, and now Ms. Ann Lee's here. And the great thing is we are stock full of wonderful people that care about the mission, and more important than the mission, they care about the people they work with around them. So thank you for being here, sharing this with my family and I. It means a lot. So, and it's difficult, right? Because the people you serve with, it's hard to walk away. But thanks for making a 30-year closeout so meaningful. So I'm going to try to go through just some things over the next 97 minutes. So my journey, just to start out, it didn't start with my military service. It started with my family. So I have grandparents that started in the military. My grandfather on my father's side, Arthur Esser, he was in the Royal Dutch Army in World War I. I know that seems weird, like a grandfather in World War I. He was 56 when my dad was born, and he was the last of 7 kids. He was born in the late 1800s and served in World War I. So that's kind of where the history started. But it also was on my mother's side as well. My Jabek, my Polish grandfather, was in World War II in the Polish cavalry. Saw combat screen with the Germans and the Russians, and so those are two family members that makes me think that my military path was meant to be, because there's a long history. And since then, my entire family, uncles, in-laws have been in the military. The most influential for me is my father, who couldn't be here today because of health problems, actually from Vietnam. But my father, Air Force Buck Sergeant, Canine Handler, Paul Esser, served in Ben Tui Air Base, Vietnam Bomber Base. Saw combat there, and after a year, luckily made it home to my mother. They got married right before he headed off to Vietnam, was there for a year. Came back home to Plattsburgh Air Force Base, where he met my mother. Her family immigrated from Poland, including my mother, through Ellis Island back in the mid-1900s. And so they came back. He came back from Vietnam, grabbed my mom, and made it back to Louisiana, where he grew up, just north of New Orleans. And so I got to grow up with great food, great music, great culture. Miss it, don't miss the humidity, but I do miss home. And my journey started there at LSU in the ROTC program in 1996. So that's where it starts. After that, I got my first assignment to Colorado Springs, right? We get this thing called a dream sheet, you fill it out, and I thought, awesome, I'll pick Rockies, right? I live below sea level, I want to go up. And so I got my first duty assignment. I'm like, this is easy. You just pick where you want to go and you get to go. So yeah, that changes a little bit. But a quick story. So I show up first day, lieutenant, right? Venture ROTC, think I know a lot now. No idea what I'm doing. Show up to Peterson Air Force Base, Colorado Space Command. So anybody that's been out there, Space Command's in what we call the shiny diner. It's this big shiny building. So I walk in not knowing where to go. And so I see an elevator, I get in the elevator, and then this entourage walks in behind me, and it's General Howell Estes III, the 4-star Space Command, Air Force Space Command commander. And so I'm like, oh, crap, what do I do? And I'm gonna pop to, and he's like, oh, LT, what are you doing here? I said, sir, I'm here to start my first job. And he goes, you must be mistaken. I'm like, sir? He goes, lieutenants don't work at command. I'm like, oh, okay. So that was my first experience with a general officer. But he did work there for about a year. And then I guess he got me kicked out, and I went down the road to Falcon Air Force Base, a few miles out west. And I got to work in the 50th Comm Squadron. Although my job wasn't great, for those of you who know what a section commander is, I got to administer discipline to everybody, right? As a second lieutenant, like court martials, Article 15s. I mean, the commander was the one that signed it, but I'm the one that had to deal with everybody. So it wasn't a very popular job. So that was difficult, first job, but I got to balance it because I joined the Honor Guard, the High Frontier Honor Guard. And that was very meaningful. And I got to do that several parts of my career. And I will tell you, there's nothing more meaningful in understanding why we serve than when you stand and hand a flag to a spouse, a widow, or a child from a lost service member, and I will never forget that. And I'll never forget that's why I served. So for those people that didn't make it out of uniform. But that stuck with me for quite a long time, and then I time's up leaving the Rockies. You know, I'm like, nothing can beat this. Skiing, 14ers, whitewater rafting, had a blast. But I'm filling out my dream sheet, and I'm like, Alaska. This is where I want to go. I remember growing up watching Grizzly Adams. Everybody watching Grizzly Adams in the 70s. So I wanted to live in a cabin out in the middle of nowhere. So anyway, I get Alaska, and I should have done my research because I'm leaving. I actually went home from Colorado to visit my family in Louisiana. So I'm leaving Louisiana. I got a Defender 90. Anybody knows what those are? It's an off-road vehicle. So I'm set. I've got my dog, I got a shovel. So I drive to Washington State, Bellingham, get on a ferry. Well, they drop you in Haines, Alaska, and this is not iPhone time, right? There's no maps. It's and so I'm sitting here like, oh, everything looks good. I land here, and then I drive. It's about 650 miles from Haines back through Canada to Fairbanks, right? Well, yeah. What I didn't know, it's winter. It's 30 below zero, and everything is closed. The gas stations, the hotels, everything. So that was an interesting trip, but somehow I made it to Fairbanks with some help along the way from locals. But I get to Alaska. I'm all excited to start my first assignment at Eielson Air Force Base, which, again, I should have done some research. I didn't know the difference between Eielson and Anchorage. Anchorage. Eielson is in the middle of nowhere, Alaska, but actually I loved it. There I served in the 354th, well, back then it was the MSS. And so I'm doing my thing, having fun, joining the Great Officer Council. We're going out and seeing Alaska. People call it snowmobiling, right? There they call it snow machining. So we were doing that in the White Mountains. Having a blast, even when it got down to 67 below zero, which that's a real temperature. You've never felt it before. It's not fun, but having a blast, and then I get promoted to captain. And me and my roommate, a buddy from college, comes in, we head to Anchorage. And so, because that's where you go, because there's not going to be barracks. And so they're about 400 miles apart. So I head to Anchorage, and that's where my life changed. The most important thing in the world happened to me. I found Humvees in Alaska and Anchorage. I met Jen. And the best thing in the world that ever happened to me, however, said 400 miles, I made that trip back and forth. Gosh, it was like just about every weekend for 2 years. But it was worth it. And I would do it all over again. So Alaska was wonderful. So we're there. I meet Jen. We're there for a couple more years. I'm spending all my time in Anchorage now, but still enjoying every bit of Alaska, salmon fishing, northern lights, all of it, right? And then I get assigned to orders drop to Maxwell Air Force Base. Crap, I gotta make a decision. So what do? Well, I figure all that mileage cred I built up with Jen, I asked her to marry me, right? She says yes, her dad says no. She says yes. And then we head off to Montgomery, Alabama together. And that's where our life really started together. We got married. We got engaged and moved to Alabama, got married, and I'm at Maxwell Air Force Base, working Air War College. That's a tough job. I just made captain not long before that, so I'm dealing with colonels. And I gotta tell you, they are high maintenance. Especially when you got 200 of them. So, yeah, not a recommendation working there, but got to work with some great people. And we got a lot of amazing firsts, right? We bought our first home together. We still own that home, so anybody needs a rental. And we have our first child. That short ranger sitting in the front door. And so it's pretty amazing. We start off there, and then it's time to move again. And so Jenny's never really had a choice or been part of the whole assignment system, right? And so go back to that dream sheet. So she's like, oh, you just get to put wherever you want. Let's go back to Alaska. I'm like, it doesn't really work that way, honey. And so she's like, well, just, where else do we go? Maybe out west. I'm like, who knows? Words, you remember this. She goes, so they could send us anywhere? I said, yeah, they could send us anywhere. It's a dream sheet. That's why they call it. I got my first two. There's no way I'm getting my third. And she goes, well, as long as they don't send us someplace like Japan, I'll be fine. Boom, Dakota Air Base. So she takes us. We head off to Yokota, and gosh, I'm not even following close to my speech here. We head off to Yokota and arrive at 5th Air Force. I'm working at for the 3-star as his A1 director. Everything's going great. Learning a lot, major, so I'm thinking, I'm tracking, everything's going good, and then after a couple of years, I got hit with an internal move. They made this thing called the Force Support Squadron. It's where Dr. G was talking about all the support stuff on base, smush everything together. They basically took 3 squadrons and squeezed them together to make one. So yeah, great job. So, but I'm thinking, okay, I'm a deputy, the director, it was Mr. Gary Garland there. And so we start the Air Force just started this new thing called Force Support. So we're doing well. We run all the support on base, everybody knows who you are, right? Well, I thought that until I'm at the Oak Club on a Friday night, and there's a ton of people there, right? And I keep getting people coming up to me and saying, hey, this is Jenny's husband, Tom. Like, Jenny's husband. Like, everybody's introducing me as, I get introduced people as Jenny's husband. They don't even know my name. And I'm like, what is going on here? Well, Bonnie, you know where I'm going with this.
Oh, yeah.
This is because my wife, and who she is, and my friends kind of know this, and this is where I need to get back to the script here. Jenny likes to put on events. So Jenny is ultra creative, talented event planner, that gets bored real fast. And so we had a 3-year-old, Toby was born, or well, 3-year-old's TJ, Toby was born, and a 1-year-old, so she's born, but gets bored with all of this. And so she starts an organization. So this is where I gotta stick to the script here. So she saw an opportunity to fill a need and created the first scholarship organization for married women overseas, the Miss Yokota pageant. This became the highest fundraising based organization, which really pissed off the top 3. It brought the entire community together and literally sold out remember Jody, the Tayo, the largest community center, with an overflow count of 500 air base members to support 23 military spouse contestants. With a fire marshal trying to shut us down that night, but that didn't work. So she also got base leadership involved, sit as the judge panel, all the way up to the general officer. I think it was General Tulin, 2-star. And the event was featured on the front page of Stars and Stripes. So this came out of just my wife's head out of nowhere. And then after that, Jenny was more popular than the base commander. I mean, everybody knew who she was on that base. She continued to run the program for several years, providing a much-needed outlet primarily for the military spouses that often didn't have overseas employment opportunities, and celebrated their services and their sacrifice. So, needless to say, my wife is pretty incredible, and she has done this every step of our life. Just when I think it's my career, it's just as much hers. And sometimes I feel like I'm following her around. So thank you, Jenny, for that. And because Yokota was in such capable hands, I decided I should take a deployment. And so I did. And so I think Aaron mentioned it. I took my first deployment to Afghanistan. It was a 8-month sightseeing vacation as the deputy chief of the Afghan National Police. So if anybody knows about Afghanistan, everything's about the army, not the police. Like the police, yeah, this is backwoods Afghanistan. So I did some fun convoying with the army, about 150 convoys. I think you said 2,300 miles. So that was a lot of fun. Ate at a bunch of 5-star restaurants, got a lot of hotel points. So it was a lot of fun. But I would say that I love deploying because I love working with the people there and the mission and doing amazing things with amazing people all over the world. And so that's what I got to do while Jen was back at home living it up in Japan. She even had her mother come out and visit. She was my own parents to come visit, but my mother. So that was about an 8-month deployment, and then I got back. And it's funny because I got back, and then 9 months later we had Bonnie. I don't know how it worked out. But so it's time to leave Yokota, and Jenny's ready to get back to the States. And so if you remember, we were looking at assignments, and we were like, oh, we're going to go back to States, and then they're like, oh, Hawaii. Jenny's just excited. Let's go to Hawaii. This is going to be great. And I mean, they're ginning up orders. And then I get a call from PACAF, the A1 said, hey, Tom, we got a different job for you. And I could just, as soon as she said it, I'm like, how am I going to tell my wife this? She's like, you're going now to northern Japan, Misawa. So Jenny wasn't excited to go to Japan in the first place. We spent 4 years at Kona. Now it's another 2-year assignment. But honestly, it was the best assignment we had at that time. And we got to meet a lot of amazing people. One of them is filming right now, Jody White and her husband, Chris. So we pick up command orders, head to Misawa, and you heard from Colonel at the time, Colonel Rothstein, retired General Rothstein. And I tell you, I've never learned more from a military commander than him about servant leadership. And it's funny how we talked about me. I remember being in the command post, the earthquake goes off. We've got, as was read, international aid workers on the ground. We've got no power. We've got cars coming through the gate with radiation on them. We're evacuating our own, including my own dependents, my wife and kids. I got them out in the first plane. I'm like, I can't focus. You guys got to go. So we evacuated a good portion of the base. And I remember being in the command post and just getting all these taskers, right? We were close to the Puzzle Palace, right? PACAF's calling me, the personnel center's calling me, headquarters is calling me. I'm just a major. I'm like getting pummeled by 4-stars, like on the phone. And my boss sees me like, what are you doing, Tom? Why are you in here? I said, sir, I just keep getting calls. And he's like, all right, this is what I need you to do. Put an out of office on your email, and I'm going to tell the controllers here that if they need Tom, they talk to me first. And so that's the type of leader he was. I literally put our wing commander on my out of office. I never thought that was even possible, but that's the kind of leader he was. And so I won't relive what happened there because it was very well summarized, but I have never been more impressed with leadership, with the airmen that literally work around the clock. Like I could not get them to go home. They slept in the dining facility in order to feed dependents and aid workers. I couldn't get them to leave. I have never been more impressed with people's willingness to take care of the people around them. And so that will stay with me forever. Yeah. General Washington talked about me, but it wasn't me. It was the people that worked for me that did incredible things, and I will remember that forever. So, all right, I'll get caught up in that. I'll try to move on. All right, I'll move on. Okay, so very hard leaving Japan, especially Japanese people. It's hard for me not to tell a story. Quick story. When I explained Japan to people, the way I explained it, because we went out for the evacuation and help, I had like 400 local nationals that worked in our squadron with us. When the earthquake went off, they didn't know if their own family members were alive. And they walked, because all the roads were wrecked, they couldn't drive, onto base to check on us. So we tried to do the same for them and go out and help with the cleanup and things like that. And I will tell you, after seeing disasters before, never that level, the best way I can describe the Japanese people is there's not a word that translates to looting because it doesn't exist in their culture. They are people that they don't know, they just take care of each other. And that's something I learned from them, and I think the world can learn a lot from a culture that waits in line, that doesn't, I mean, they weren't, there was no yelling, there was no screaming, there was no politics going on. It was just people helping people. And that will always stay with me forever. We have a lot of Japanese friends that will be our close friends forever, and they'll always have a special place in my heart. So it was very difficult leaving after 6 years, but when you get orders, as the Air Force does, there's no more dream sheets anymore. So it's wherever the Air Force wants to send me. So I get orders to the Puzzle Palace. And so worked several jobs there. Air Force Reserve. Wow, talk about an eye-opener about what the Guard and the Reserve bring to the table. Active duty sometimes have these blinders on, and everything's about active duty. It is not. Our Guard and Reserve partners do a lot of heavy lifting, and that was a big eye-opener for me for Colonel Rosenmeyer for a couple of years there at headquarters Air Force Reserve. So great experience. Then I got sucked deeper in the Pentagon black hole. Worked half A1, Mr. Larry, sustained advantage. Some people know who Mr. Larry is. He's a character. Great guy to work for. Did that for a while, and then I got moved over to Andrews for a bit, and I got to work warrior and survivor care. So full circle now I'm here. We had casualty fair, wounded warrior program, and I got to work honor guard program. So that was amazing, kind of coming back to that. Great experience. And then I'm getting bored, and so I deploy again. That's fun for me. I actually took somebody else's deployment because he got hit with it, and he was about to retire. I said, I'll take it. Jen wasn't too happy about that. But went to Qatar, worked Joint Special Op Air Component Central, got to work with some incredible tip of the spear warriors. That was amazing. Again, traveled a lot, half a dozen 5-star countries around the Middle East. Probably the best experience there was Christmas Eve, being at Baghdad. We were actually on top of Saddam Hussein's glass bathhouse, and there was I think about 4 TACPs and then a couple of Navy SEALs, and we celebrated Christmas Eve with a cigar on top of the bathhouse. That was a fun experience. So anyway, and sorry, TJ, the Rangers weren't invited. So anyway, go back. Deployment ends. Had a great time. Learned a lot. Head back to the Pentagon. Got to work SAP NMR. A couple of heavy hitters, Mr. Sinley, Mr. Federico. That was eye-opening again. Got blessed enough to pick up Fulbird, and then I got Air Force Element Command at DIA. And I'm like, why are they sending me to Defense Intelligence? I'm not an intel guy. But wow, that was an incredible experience. 1,200 airmen at 250 locations around the world. My entire career put together, I traveled probably more in a year with them all over embassies. Great experience. Loved the job. And then COVID hit, so stopped the traveling, which stinks. But DIA, interestingly enough, was probably the least prepared agency, 3-letter agency, for COVID because everything's on the high side. Look at our calendars on the high side. Like, you can't even send an invite if someone's at home. And so we were still coming in like every day. So apparently you can't get COVID if you have a TS. So beneficial, I guess. So, but worked for General Ashley there and learned a lot. They actually extended me in command there. I loved it. And so we're kind of going through COVID, and then Air Force hits me and says, "Hey, you got another command opportunity. We're going to send you to South Carolina." Well, at that time we've been in DC for so long, and the family gets a vote now. And so I think everybody voted differently because it was like retire, everybody go. I think Toby wanted everybody to go, or I just geo-badge it, which I don't want to do that. That's no fun. And so we couldn't figure it out, and I said, found a fourth option: deploy. Because if you deploy, the colonel's group will let you take an assignment. You get to pick your location after that. So I said, honey, one more hurrah, right? And she said, sure. And that was Afghanistan. It was supposed to be a year deployment out of Kabul, the decom of HKIA. That's been talked about and covered, but I will tell you, that was the most, probably the heaviest thing I've ever done. But again, blessed to be around incredible people. Grumpy Turkish 1-star. General Miller, 4-star before he left, he actually called me over to the embassy and said, "Tom, you got the toughest job right now in Afghanistan. You need to fix the Turks because they're not talking to us." And so I said, "Sir, I don't have many skills, but people are one of them." So I worked really hard on that, and we got them to the table. We brought CRAM in. We were able to brokerage the handover at the very end of the airfield to back to the U.S. Because if you don't know, HKIA, the airport, is an APOD there, aerial port of demarcation, but it's not run by the U.S. at the time. It's run by NATO and the Turks. And so when U.S. came in, we didn't own anything, right? And except for me, the senior national rep there. And so brokering that with the Turks wasn't easy. But I learned if you give a little respect, they'll give it back to you, and if they learn to trust you. And end up leaving with some really good friendships out of there with the Turkish. Also with the Norwegians, they ran our role too, which was not easy because after the bombing, which was very difficult. I was actually across the flight line at the airport a few weeks before the 1-star, and I went over there to talk with the Taliban, which was weird because the U.S. hadn't talked to the Taliban yet, not there. And I said, "Why are we going over there?" He's like, "We're going to try to get them to open up the airport because everybody knows what Abbey Gate is. If you heard the news, that's a foot gate, right? It's basically a very small gate that people can walk through. The airport you could drive buses through the access point there. So we were there to brokerage that with like literally the Taliban. I thought that was so strange because I remember leaving the base and I said, I gotta make a phone call. And I called up to my buddy who was the 2-star, Admiral Baisley's aide. He was a Green Beret. And I said, hey, I just want to let somebody from the U.S. know that I'm heading across the flight line to talk to the Taliban. And he's like, you're doing what? And I'm like, yeah, in Turkish. He goes, good luck. And so I'm like, all right, well, at least they had eyes. If they come back, somebody knew about it. I can tell Jim. But we were able to do that. Yeah, we worked out a deal. And eventually the U.S. adopted it a couple weeks later after the Turks started flowing busloads of people through. So what is it, August 26th over there, actually with a 10th Mountain guy, Army Lieutenant Colonel, literally pulling razor wire with the Taliban. They're on one side, we're on the other. We get this intel that there's a bomb. We get them all the time, but this one was different because where it came from. And so we started, suspending the evacuation operations, and then it went off. And so you got a flight line in Afghanistan, and then HKIA, the compounds on one side, the airport navigator next to each other on the other. We literally felt it and knew. And we knew who was out there. Mostly Marines. There's also a Navy corpsman, an Army soldier. And they weren't out there because they were told to be out there. They were actually told to come back in. They stayed out there because they knew, because we had so many threats, they knew that this might be the last threat we get when we close the gate and it stops, right? The evacuation stops. So they literally stayed out to try to get a few more people through that gate. So I don't know how much of that made it through the media or the news, but we all know that they were heroes, all 13 of them. But they weren't forced to do what they were doing at the time. They did it because they wanted to save lives. And so that's what I'll always take away from that. And so, yeah. And I just think about all the people that took care of them. We had a flight line ceremony for them. It's probably the most moving thing I've ever done in my career, just being out there because we lined up. And this is after the threat and the bombing and everything. Every last service member, the nations that were still represented, lined that entire flight line and gave them honors and loaded caskets. So to bring this back up, remember what we do and why we do it. And it's people like that make everything we do work. So we'll get back on track and close this out here because I think I'm over the I'm over the hour mark.
You're in the room till 6.
Yeah, right? Okay. So, yep, leaving Afghanistan was tough. But I'll tell you, God looks out for me because I landed here. And I tell you, Dr. G, I needed this assignment after that. So it was meant to be, and I couldn't have chosen a better place or a better boss to work for. So, and I'm not the only one that shares that. I think everybody here on SAPO is here because of Dr. G, his leadership, and more than his leadership, he just cares about people. And so I'm so thankful after leaving a very tough assignment that we got to come here and work for you. So again, it's been an honor. In the best way I could think of ending a 30-year career is getting an opportunity to work for you. So thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I'll also extend that thanks to the whole SEPRO team. Thanks for being such awesome people that are dedicated to the mission and what you do and how important it is. Thank you, DHRA family, for, wow, this, like SAPRO, it's like people want to stay here. People want to be around the leadership here because it doesn't just care about the mission, it cares about the people. We pour into the people, we take care of them, we develop them, we train them, you focus on the right things. So the mission will always get done, but you got to take care of the people. And so, what an opportunity to be part of this team, the enterprise board, fellow chiefs of staff, fellow LNOs and the colonels. This has been what an outstanding way to end my career, and I'm just so thankful that I had the opportunity to be around all of you. And one that I'll be remiss if I miss it is, so the military, the civilians, but the contract team. I have never worked with better contract team in my entire career than the Booz Allen team we have here. Wow. I was like, sometimes when you come up in a career, you got the core team, military and civilians, then you got a contract that supports. No, this is, everybody is a player on this team, and what an experience. It's just sad that it took me 30 years to get to and see that side of excellence from the contracting side. So thank you, Erin. I think she's still in here, and thank you for your whole team and everything you do. I really appreciate it. It's been an honor to work with all of you. So I'll keep going on and on. So I'll try to close this out very quickly here. Everybody here, I see Catherine, Frank, the whole DHRI team, fellow chiefs of staff, everybody here, thank you. And a special thanks to Dr. Holroyd. Oh, there you are. And the LNO team, Aaron, Jimmy, Scott, Travis, thank you for putting all this together. I know, trust me, I know how much work it is. And thank you for making this a special day for my family and I. Really appreciate it. And then, it's been an honor. I got to end with the hardest part. Well, actually, my friends, thank you for my second family for being here. There's a reason I took that assignment. It's because we laid down roots here. And it's always people I think that came all the way out here, out of their days, stopped what they were doing to share with me. Jamie Atherton, thank you for coming, sir. Robbie, our Air Force cadet at the Academy, all of you. Don, thank you for the benediction. Robin, thank you for coming. Daniel, Eileen, Chris, Jody, Carlos, Cindy, thank you all for being here. It means so much to me. My family, my boys. So my ranger up here in front, is at Ranger 2nd Battalion. Then he got a few months ago, got orders to go to Ranger School, which is great because he gets his tab. But I'm like, wow, that's going to screw up my retirement. And they're like, well, there's only one shot he'll be here. Something not familiar with Ranger School, it's called 62 and through. You don't get a recycle, right? Well, it sounds easy, right? Out of almost 400 people that started in his class, 53 made it, 62 and through. He made it. You're badass.
Lead the way.
Coming down to college. So my son went to Alabama. I'm an LSU grad. Roll Tide. You get one. No, but he's, as I mentioned, business school, also minoring in law. I think he's about to join a fraternity, so focus on this. I'm just so grateful having him home. He's been away for a while, and then my Bonnie B. We're gonna get through your teenage years. She's the most caring, loving person in the world, but she's about to turn 16. Woo! Sorry. My mother-in-law coming all the way from Alaska. Thank you for being here, Bonnie. My parents, if they're online, my mom and dad, they couldn't be here, but I think they're watching. Mom, Dad, love you. I'll be there to celebrate with you here soon, and then my wife. I'm just going to end there. My wife, there she is. I could have done it without you, but it wouldn't have been nearly as fun. You are my rock. She is the most caring, loving person in the world. She's brought me closer to God, and she's the reason I know there's God. She is the most amazing human being I've ever known in my life. And I am so much better because of you. And I love you, darling. I know this has not been easy, and it hit me the other day like a red ball in the face. It's, I was like, this is, I'm retiring with 30 years. This has been hard. I'm stressful. It's, medical, get the work done, all this. And then I see her, she bends, she can throw in a vent, like, with her, hand tied behind her back. But she's stressed out. I'm like, why are you stressed? I'm the one retiring. And then it hit me. She's retiring. I've been in 30 years and she's been with me 26 of them. And I didn't even, like, I'm like, duh. She's like, it is much yours as it is mine, if not more. And it's funny.
It's been a run.
It's been a run. I will do it all over again. Thank you. Thanks to the Air Force for giving me an opportunity to serve, and all of you. Thank you. I could go on for probably another hour. I believe it's been an incredible journey. Thank you. God bless all of you. That's all I got.
But wait, there's more.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remain standing for the playing of the U.S. Air Force song, the benediction and the playing of the U.S. Air Force song.
As we conclude the celebration, we thank you for the faithful service of Colonel Tom Esser and for the legacy he leaves behind. Bless Tom, Jenny, family, as they begin the new chapter, granting them peace, good health, and abundant joy in the days ahead. Now go with us, Lord, and grant us your peace. May your blessing rest upon this family, and may your favor guide them in every step ahead. Amen.
Amen.
It's probably you. Probably.
Into the sun, here they come, soon to steal our thunder. Out of love, give 'em the gun, give 'em the gun. Out the rise, hugging the pigs on under, open wide, hell of a roar. We live and live without a fight. Hey, nothing to stop the U.S. Air Force.
Not all Ford Weapons versus yay.
Yeah, right.
Today's event. Please come forward to congratulate Colonel Esser and his family, and then join us in the back for refreshments. We also have a video that will be playing as folks enjoy
video,
their
sorry.
Oh, yes, video.
Video went down.
Oh, no.
Let's go.
Video, absolutely.
Get your dad singing next time. Come on now. I know he knows. Pretty sure I know.
You can't see.
I know.
Thank you for letting me borrow your dad. Thank you. Appreciate it. Got to hear